your local news at 11:30.
And now let's check in with Elise and Heidi.
Tomorrow on CTV Morning Live, we're saving you money on the road.
The cost of a fill-up keeps going up and up, but one way to combat those prices is with a hybrid vehicle. We'll crunch the numbers.
News, weather, and more. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live tomorrow.
And coming up tomorrow at 5, are you hoping to pack your bag to a March break? If so, the clock is ticking. We'll make a trip to talk to the experts about hot spots and what's still available. Last minute holiday help tomorrow at 5. That's it for us. Thanks so much for being a part of our show.
Our news continues right now with Steve Murphy.
All right, thank you, Bruce and Star. And now for this Wednesday, February 27th, live and local. This is CTV News at 6. Tonight, Lauren details. New information about underage sex sting suspects. Sleeping easy, no new cases in the sleepwatcher matter.
It was, a couple tough nights sleeping. I was always a little scared.
And all at once, meet the hero of the deer rescue video.
Live from our Maritime News Center, this is CTV News. Here is Steve Murphy.
Good evening, everyone. A prominent Nova Scotia Aboriginal leader is one of the 5 men caught up in an internet child exploitation dragnet. 57-year-old Pierre Joseph Rick Simon is charged with luring. He has been ordered to stay away from playgrounds and schoolyards as conditions of his release. CTV's Rick Ratt has the story.
Rick Simon is a well-known Native leader in Atlantic Canada. He's been a staunch defender of Native rights and recently argued that the high salaries of some chiefs were not unreasonable.
They work 24/7. At the end of the day, they're retired. There is no retirement pensions in place.
His full name is Pierre Joseph Simon, but he's best known as Rick. He's been the Atlantic Regional Chief for the Assembly of First Nations, a former CEO of the Indian Brook Band in Shubenacadie, and now works for the Atlantic Policy Congress. And 5 days ago, he was arrested for luring a child.
Our investigators here noticed an increase in the amount of ads they posted. So they took upon to start the operation, curb and deter his behavior from men seeking sex with young females.
Simon is one of 5 men who were charged with luring a child. All face conditions for their release: not to have contact directly or indirectly with any child under 18, and not to possess any device that can access the internet. But 57-year-old Simon and 39-year-old Donald William Moore of Shubenacadie have one additional condition. They are to stay away from playgrounds and schoolyards.
These 5 individuals were arrested and released by different officers at different times. At the time of these incidents, the investigator assigned these files, deemed that these conditions should be put on. It was at the discretion of the officer.
Simon lives here in Hilden, near Truro, Nova Scotia, and he works at the Cole Harbour offices of the Atlantic Policy Congress, where he is the Director of Fisheries.
No official from the Atlantic Policy Congress would comment on Rick Simon's situation. John Paul, the Executive Director, wouldn't come out to offer a no comment. He sent the receptionist to tell us that it's a personnel matter.
Is Mr. Simon here today?
We contacted Simon by phone, but he immediately hung up. We attempted to find out from the co-chair of the Atlantic Policy Congress, Chief Terry Paul, if Simon was going to continue in his current role, but he declined to be interviewed.
I talked to an RCMP officer who conducts online investigations, and he says when a police officer is conducting an investigation and presents themselves as, say, a 16-year-old, as was the case in this investigation, he said police officers do declare and make it clear the age of the individual being presented. Mr. Simon and the other 4 will be in court on April 2nd. Steve?
Rick, thank you. You're welcome. CTV's Rick Ratt for us tonight in the newsroom, Halifax. A violent assault in the Glen Falls area of St. John leaves a man in serious condition in the hospital tonight. It happened on Broadway Avenue around 10:30 last night. The victim wandered door to door looking for help. The paramedics got there shortly after the police. Investigators hope anybody who has information will come forward. It has become famously known as the Sleepwatcher case, repeated incidents of women waking up to find a man in their bedrooms watching them as they slept. A man who was considered a suspect was charged with voyeurism but acquitted. He's now serving time for something else. There haven't been any new cases reported, but as CTV's Kevin Sundahl has found, the Sleepwatcher investigation is still an open police file.
For years,
the so-called sleepwatcher haunted the lives of young women living in Halifax's South End. Multiple reports of women waking up to find a man watching them sleep.
I have a couple neighbors of mine actually who were victims.
It's been a while since the sleepwatcher struck. Still, women in this area haven't forgotten.
A couple tough nights sleeping. I was always a little scared. Every noise you heard, you wondered, you know, is that something to come and break into my apartment and invade my privacy? And it was definitely scary.
At one point, it looked like police might have caught their man. Mary Sinclair was charged with 5 counts of voyeurism and 2 counts of break and enter. Cases eerily similar to the sleepwatcher. But the judge acquitted Sinclair on most of the charges, finding him guilty of just 1 case of break and enter.